This project examines the question of our ability to experience a personal, spiritual event through the use of digital imaging technology, specifically that of virtual reality. We examine this question with reference to two communities who have migrated from their homes and cultures and who live today in Jerusalem, yet still yearn for their former life and try to fulfill the ideal known as the New Jerusalem. The relationship between technology and the user can be seen in the context of the philosophical dilemma of mind and body, that is, how the physical and technological processes may affect our emotions and subjective experiences. This project tries to bridge the gap by offering a personal encounter, born of technology, but one which elevates the user to a personal spiritual journey. The spirit of the cloud, as we like to call it, aims to function on three levels: conceptual, social, and technological. On a conceptual level, as stated, the ambition is to create an emotional experience transcending the limitations of time and space, and to examine in a new light the idea of the virtual pilgrimage. And what is this idea? For generations, the question has arisen of the necessity of being physically present within the pilgrimage journey which leads to spiritual transcendence. As early as 1480, the Dominican preacher Felix Fabry wrote a devotional book for his followers, for them to experience a mental pilgrimage from within the confines of their own cloisters. In recent years, with the dominance of the digital world and the internet, this question has grown stronger. Websites are appearing worldwide, offering a digital alternative to the religious experience. And this highlights the question, are we there yet? Is it possible that arriving, that is, reaching a spiritual plateau, does not necessarily involve a physical journey at all, but that it is rather an internal experience? This is the idea of the New Jerusalem. We first meet this concept in Ezekiel's prophetic vision of Jerusalem, the capital of the Messianic kingdom. This utopian idea also appears in the New Testament and is deeply rooted in the pilgrimage ceremony, and later, when churches were built throughout Europe, they served as a spiritual substitute for Jerusalem. These places describe an ideal rather than a physical place, a utopia. We find this expression of a utopian city in literature, poetry, and art, such as in Thomas More's Utopia, or in the wonderful description of the invisible cities by Italo Calvino. The New Jerusalem is central to many pilgrimage rites, not just to Jerusalem, but to any place that has acquired that degree of holiness. William Blake's poem, Jerusalem, is now recognized as England's unofficial anthem and is even played at major sporting events, as well as at the conclusion of the annual music event, the Proms. On a practical level, this project chooses to engage the question by exploring two different yet historically related structures: the reconstructed synagogue of Corneliano Veneto from Italy and the Kidane Meret Ethiopian Church. Both are located today in Jerusalem, close to our own Hadassah College. Both are manifestations of the resurrection of the old world here and now, and both are expressions of a reality that is suspended between two worlds. Now, one cannot fully understand the relevance of these structures without delving into a very brief historical overview of the city. The second half of the 19th century was marked by a rapid growth of Jerusalem. This reflects a growth in its importance, not only for its Jewish and Muslim population, but also for the Christian world. The rising popularity of archaeology, photography, and anthropology found a fertile ground in the Holy Land in general and in Jerusalem in particular. The exploration of 19th century Jerusalem yielded a wealth of information which did much to arouse Western interest in the city. Thus, we see a sharp increase in Christian religious activity in Jerusalem. The Latin Patriarch, the Greek Orthodox Patriarch, the Russian Compound, the Anglican Church, the German Catholic Compound, etc., etc. This period also witnessed the development of the Ethiopian Orthodox community in Jerusalem. Thus, in 1888, the Ethiopian Emperor Johannes bought a plot of land and began construction of a new church, compound, and monastery for his growing community. However, as is so often the case in Jerusalem, religion, history, geography, and politics are closely intertwined, and so an event thousands of kilometers away from Jerusalem, in a small town called Conegliano Veneto, Italy, unfolded, sending ripples across the ocean. Jews had lived in Conegliano from the 16th century. Over generations, the community diminished. The synagogue remained in sporadic use until World War I. The last prayer was held on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, 1919, by Jewish soldiers from the Austro-Hungarian army. In 1944, when the last members of the community died, the community ceased to exist. However, shortly after the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, the synagogue was moved in its entirety to Jerusalem, where the original hall was restored in all its detail and erected in no other than that former Catholic hospice. Today, it's in constant use by the Italian community in Jerusalem. As stated earlier, this project raises the question of our ability to experience a spiritual event through digital imaging technology. Let us keep in mind, however, that with all its centrality, technology is nothing but a means and not a goal. So, with that in mind, our project focuses on the meeting of two technologies, the point cloud and the virtual reality system. From the outset, the word cloud in itself has a religious connotation. According to the Bible, the pillar of cloud was one of the manifestations of the presence of the God which accompanied the Israelites on their journeys in the wilderness. In our digital world today, the cloud is that endless repository of data and information. But here we have chosen to emphasize another cloud, the digital point cloud, the foundation of 3D computer space. The digital image, as we know, is but a collection of data points, which are expressed as physical points of light and color in two-dimensional space. In the three-dimensional world, however, we are also required to give information about the point's location on the z-axis, its distance from the camera or the eye. We do this by triangulation and a technique called photogrammetry. This is not a new process at all, but nowadays it's achieved by photographing or scanning each point in space from at least 2 or 3 different angles. For this project we used both conventional photogrammetry and advanced laser scanning, to produce 3D point clouds of both structures. For the most part in 3D imaging, the collection of points, the point cloud, constitute but an interim stage in the creation of a photorealistic model. In our case, however, we chose to focus on the points themselves as the basis for our research. Why? The unique quality of the point cloud is central to creating the experience of a mystical journey. Like a cluster of locusts in the sky, the cloud is measured by its density, by the distance between the dots. The denser the dots, the more seemingly opaque the scene. The sparser the dots, the more transparent. Likewise, the apparent density of the cloud will be relative to the distance from which it is viewed. As we approach the cloud, the distance between the dots will grow, and vice versa as it recedes into the distance. Because a point cloud is entirely mathematical, we may change our viewpoint at will and travel through the cloud like a bird or a plane. Unlike a standard 3D structure, the walls are never fully solid. Ceilings and floors no longer constrain our path of flight, and space assumes a dreamlike quality. Thus, by allowing the viewer to immerse in a virtual reality experience, we wish to enable navigation at will through the point cloud structure, a form of dynamic pointillism, if you will. Enhanced by chants, hymns, and prayers, we aim to create an emotional experience, a virtual pilgrimage. In practice, however, there is considerable difficulty in the application of the point cloud for an interactive digital journey. This is due to the huge data load it imposes on processors for real-time interactive experiences. We are therefore currently testing various file optimization methods as well as game engine platforms to balance the desired requirements of performance and the limitations of technology. Recent developments over the past few months have opened up interesting new possibilities. The iPad Pro and the new iPhone are now equipped with a LiDAR sensor. While this is still in relative infancy and is aimed mainly at the augmented reality and possibly the game markets, several companies have started experimenting with it as a mesh and point cloud scanner. We too have been conducting extensive tests to gauge its limits and its potential, and while its current quality in no way challenges that of a high-end laser scanner, its incredible speed and convenience raises hopes for a practical and viable alternative for many cultural heritage uses. On another level, one of the inbuilt conflicts of the spiritual experience lies in the fact that it is at once both intrinsically profoundly personal and inward-looking, yet at the same time it is also a communal shared experience, and the emotional impact is elevated by the togetherness. This is relevant to the VR experience, which locks out the external world and all that is in it. Is that good or bad? This also raises the question of how, where, and when the VR experience can or should be applied. In the user's private domain, or in public places such as churches, synagogues, mosques? Could VR installations on site possibly become virtual cloisters of seclusion and introspection? Finally, the experience of the past year has put a new perspective on this work. The virtual pilgrimage is now no longer just a choice, but rather a necessity. Nearly a year ago, at the start of this project, the distance between Jerusalem and Wales was just a journey of several hours. This afternoon, however, the chasm seems unbreachable, and it is only thanks to the long arm of digital technology that we can at least reach out to each other and join in a communal experience, and for that at least we are thankful. So I thank you.